New cars have gotten very, very expensive. A Ford Focus has doubled in price in the last 10 years. So when Dacia came along offering affordable, practical, reliable cars to the masses, we all thought that's not going to work. But in the 6 decades since Dacia have been around, they've delivered just that. So I thought it would be prudent to talk about my favourite Dacias, a little bit about the brand itself and why I think they're actually fantastic. So let's delve into Dacia. Dacia hit Romanian roads in the late 60s after Ceausescu, the communist dictator, who was a look him up, decided that he wanted a affordable car for the masses that Romania could export and make a bit of money. And this is what they came up with. So they did a deal with Renault to license the Renault 8 and produce it in Romania. Fast forward to the late 90s, Renault bought the group and started producing cars out of the same area. And now we have these wonderful specimens. So still underpinned by Renault, but there's so much more to them. So let's explore what Dacia have to offer. The Dacia Sandero, a very capable hatchback introduced in 2008 and made famous arguably by James May's obsession with the car. Now, it's had several facelifts during its lifetime. This is the latest one. I think it looks really, really handsome. And size-wise, it fits between the VW Polo and the Golf. So that gives you an idea of size and scale. It is underpinned by a Renault Clio because it is part of the Renault group, and inside you will see a few similarities with its Renault cousins, but overall it is a fantastic all-rounder. Let's talk about that facelift. So first of all, the brand new Dacia branding, quite postmodern. I quite like it. Nice and simple, looks like 2 Lego hands glued together. New LED front headlamps look a little bit like a silverfish that you get under the sea. Classy, I like it. Under the decidedly old school bonnet, which has got no hydraulic aids, it's just a pole. Quite hard for that to fail. Good thinking. 1 litre TCE engine, about 90 horsepower. You're not going to break any lap records, but that doesn't matter. It is decidedly very Renault. So they use a lot of parts from their cousins to keep the costs down. Doesn't cost as much to just borrow other parts, but it does mean you've got Renault stamped all over the place. So Renault on the air intake, Renault on the cabling, Renault Nissan where the brake fluid is. But do you know what? They're all parts that work. They're tried and tested, reliable little engine to get you, your family, your dogs, your kids, whatever, all over the place. Really smart thinking from Dacia. Boona everybody, and welcome inside the Sandero. So first thing to notice, it's pretty sparse, but we're going to call it minimalist for the purposes of this review. Seating position is good, everything is where you would expect it to be. It's a analog dashboard in front of you with a digital display in the middle. Electric front windows in this particular model. The buttons are straight from a Renault. The infotainment management system behind the steering wheel, straight from a Renault, not a bad thing. As we move over, I mean, you know, it's not the plushest, but it works. Everything has a nice feel and touch to it and a reassuring click when you reach where you want to be. Infotainment wise, you can plug your phone straight in via USB and you stick your phone in a little port called media control. If it's good enough for Ferrari, it's good enough for Dacia. Seats are comfy. It's, yeah, nice to the touch. And overall, pretty comfortable for when you want to just commute around or even if you're on a slightly longer drive. In the back, there's as much room as you would want. So there's ISOFIX points along the entire back bench, meaning you can secure a kiddie seat without too much drama. If I sit behind myself, there's enough room for me, just about. I'm 5'10", 1m77, not the tallest, not the shortest. I'm pretty average really, but plenty of room to transport people and goods in the back. A good family hatchback. Moving to the back of the Sandero, a 328 litre space for you to put suitcases, dogs, several cats, I guess. But that puts it just above the Citroen C3. It's got a full-size spare wheel in this particular one that we have here at Big Motoring World, with your jack and your towing hook actually bolted into place on the back here, so you're never going to lose them. But overall, a very useful space, particularly as this is more likely than not going to be your family hatchback. Just gently close that there. Another one bites a duster, a Dacia Duster. This is a 2022 Behemoth. It is one of the coolest cars I think that's on the road. Hear me out, but it's got a roof rack. If a roof rack isn't cool, I don't know what is. This is a 2022 Dacia Duster. It's haunchy. It's got a 1.3 litre engine under this bonnet. And talking of the bonnet, it's got nice aggressive lines on the top telling us that it means business. And if you see this in your rear view mirror, it kind of looks like a tank. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, it really is quite brawny. It's got the old-fashioned Dacia logo at the front. As we know, there's been a well-publicised facelifted version of it. But I quite like this, this more traditional style. It gives it a little bit of je ne sais quoi. But overall, the look, the aesthetic, you can see just how tall it is. It is a wonderful family cruiser. Step up into the Duster and you will be very happy with what you see. So overall, all the touch points actually feel pretty good, which is nice. In front of you, the driving position is pretty squat and pretty square on. You're obviously higher up, which is a good thing in a car like this. All the switchgear, well, it is from Renault, but that's not a particularly bad thing. It works. It feels good on the touch. You can use them wearing gloves, which I always think is a good thing when it comes to a car that could, in theory, drive you around a construction site, maybe a farmyard, something like that, or just out and about on a cold day. Dashboard, all the instruments are analog with a little digital dial in the middle. The infotainment is particularly good. Again, lifted from Renault, but smartphone integration, everything you might need is here, touchscreen. And then the word Duster is kind of sprinkled around. You've got Duster underneath the infotainment system, Duster here, and then Duster kind of obviously around the outside of the car as well. But it's a really nice, happy place to be, and I really genuinely like it. You could do a lot of miles in this. Loads of room in the back, as you might expect. 420 odd litres, obviously more if you put the seats down, which you can do. It doesn't have much of a lip on it, so when you're putting stuff into the back, it doesn't get caught. You can get a pet in the back and it's not going to catch its poor little fingies in there as well. And because it's quite tall and off the ground, you don't have to squat too much to get things in. This is perfect. I mean, genuinely perfect for anything. In the back, the good news continues. Along the entire back bench, you have got ISOFIX points so that you can put Junior's seat in there without any issue. The transmission tunnel in the middle isn't actually that obtrusive. So you sit in the middle seat, your little legs and toes have got plenty of room to waggle around, and a USB charging port, 2 of them, so that you can put in electronic devices to charge or use across a journey. This is a Sandero stepway. It's very similar to the run-of-the-mill Sandero, but ever so slightly more premium. And also, it's 40 millimeters higher off the ground, so it's better. Let's have a little tour of this stepway. The stepway shares an awful lot with its Sandero kin. Under the bonnet, a 1 litre TCE engine, 90 horsepower, most of which is Renault-esque. It has this lovely facelift, so the Dacia branding is all updated, and the LED headlamps, very much like a Volvo Thor's hammer situation. But of course, the stepway is 40 millimeters higher than the Sandero straight up, which gives it that kind of brawny feel, which I quite like. But it's inside of the stepway that it feels particularly premium. Welcome inside the Dacia Sandero stepway, and the first thing to notice is the ride height. You definitely feel jacked up in here, which is good. You get to actually see a fair amount of what's going on in front of you and kind of around you in the world. Driving position is good, and when you're moving, everything feels pretty plush. The interior is plush. The seats are nice. You've got this nice clothy finish, which sounds worse when I say it, but trust me, in reality, it's actually pretty nice. Automatic gearbox in this, it's actually not bad. You know, it's not the best, but it'll pick a gear for you, and it's got a low ratio option, which is a pretty interesting thing to have on a car like this. Dashboard is nice. You can see everything nice and clearly, and because it's analog, it's pretty bang on the dial. Infotainment wise, well, you've got a nice little slot here for your phone if you want to, and all the knobs and whistles to pick your climate control well, they're all nice and in front of you, and they're nicely gnarled. You can hear and feel the click as you change, which is a really nice touch, and actually missing on a lot of cars nowadays. It should be like that. It should be easy to know where you're at. What else can I say about this car? Aircon works, it's boiling today. I've been to Romania, it's lovely. I went to Constanța as part of my... Every taxi I got into was a Dacia. In the back of the stepway, plenty of room for one of these. So 320 litres worth of space. Oh, if I can do it. Plenty of room for a large suitcase. And because it's slightly raised, you can get everything in nicely. And then when you close the boot, you're reminded that you're driving a Dacia. There we have it, the Stepway, the Duster and the Sandero. My favourite Dacias, and maybe, just maybe, your next car. Head over to Big Motoring World's website to check out our entire range of Dacias and everything else. We've got thousands of cars across the group. Thank you for watching, and remember, we are big on choice and we're big on what matters to you.